First, I'd like to again acknowledge why we are here tonight. Why do we have these concerts? And I have to say, if it wasn't for the support of the quartet Euphoria, and sometimes it changes its name because it becomes a duet, and but it really, from all the years that we are having to say anything in support of human rights at our house as a house concert, it has been under the shadow of your performing. So it has, that is the way the history of it speaks. So I have to say thank you for that. Thank you. It speaks to a very interesting dynamics, I think, that Baha'u'llah introduces to the world about social justice. And the issue of justice is very tricky, because as we think about justice or become the instruments of justice, there's always a chance that we become our lower self in defending ourselves. So that's why Baha'u'llah says the wing of justice is two wings. The individual who's subjected to injustice has the responsibility of expressing mercy and kindness, so they can preserve their humanity. But the rest of the world need to be the other wing, and they need to rise to speak about justice, because the rest of the world are not subject to the blows. Therefore, the chances of them becoming angry and becoming vengeful is very little. So they have to remain very objective and really hold on to the code of justice. So this is the balance, and in that sense, your wonderful force or energy gives us a chance to be loving and kind as we watch some of our friends in Iran to be subject to tremendous amount of vicious cruelty and systematic, it's just not accidental, it's a systematic plan of decapitation, economically, emotionally, spiritually, academically, all of that. So they can destroy a whole society as it presents a threat. And a threat, they are very smart, is an ideological threat. Absolutely, is nothing but an ideological threat. Because a regime where it controls by subjugating the people to not to think freely, not to act as they believe, not to expand, not to grow, not to move forward. It's very much like a dark force. And it's threatened by light. It evaporates when light comes. And from the very get-go, that has been this history of the Baha'i faith in Iran, 170 years, and the rest of the community, I mean, the system. So Baha'is of Iran have a very special responsibility to shine with their goodness, with their nobility, with their integrity, but we outside, even us outside, have the responsibility to speaking up for them. Now, some of you who don't know, Iraj's father, Dr. Kamalabadi, was imprisoned in Iran because of his belief, and finally he was really tortured so much that he really didn't come out, out of the prison in a way that he could live long, so he died. His sister, now Fariba, is in prison. She and 6 other administrators in the Baha'i community, because the government ordered there should be no elected bodies. The Baha'i community at large does not have priesthood. So members of the governing of the community are always elected. So these people were arrested, and Iraj's sister was one of them. They've been in prison now almost over 8 years. And they had sentenced them to 20 years. now recently, apparently, there is a law or somehow it has been reduced to 10 years. So maybe in 2 years they would be released. But they have spent their lives. I remember when Faniwa went to prison, her older daughter was only 20, she just got married. Now she's much older and she has a child and she lives in England. But her younger daughter was only 11, am I right? And she had to spend all these years that a child needs her mother and her mom was in prison. So there are some losses that you can never make up for it, opportunities that you never be able to make up for it. And this is more injustice than any other injustice, I think. So there are students, Baha'i students in Iran that from the very beginning of this revolution, whatever you call it, they were barred from going to higher education university. So the Baha'i community who takes education as one of the very basic rights, and in fact, education of women is even more important than education of boys. Baha'u'llah says if you have 2 children, a boy and a girl, you can only educate one, you educate the daughter, because she becomes the educator of the future generation. He says a family that is raised, a generation that is raised by an ignorant mother perpetuates ignorance. So you better take the women and educate them, and then you'll be liberating the whole society forever. And so that society that revered education now has not been able to attend high university. But the Baha'is of Iran did not sit there and just take it. They don't become vicious, but they don't take it either. So they created an online university where online university 30 years ago, nobody even knew what it was. So that online university later became the target of attacks of the government, including arresting the faculty, arresting the students, putting them in jail. They're still in jail, some of them, and raiding the homes, but they were having their classes in the basements, in the bedrooms. They would raid them and take the computers and everything over and over, but they would go back again and they would get them. But they would never become vicious. You never ever heard a Baha'i becoming, going and blowing themselves up in order to kill a whole bunch of people because they were so angry. That is completely defeat. The Baha'is see that the defeat of their humanity, and they will not do it for anything. And that would bring us to the poetry that we have selected here, the mystical poetry of Hafiz we have chosen for you. I don't know how many of you know Hafiz, the mystical poets of Iran, very famous. That we think really Hafiz was very, very knowledgeable. In fact, the reason he is called Hafiz, which means someone who has memorized, is because he had Quran memorized. Or Rumi, for example, that the Western world reveres so much. His poetry is really Persian Quran because of the depth of their understanding and of the mystical aspect of Quran and Islam. But unfortunately, what is expressed is distorted. As each one of us, as we believe in any religion, we become a walking book. And the way we live it, basically, is an interpretation of our understanding of whether this is a Bible, or it is a Quran, or it is a Bhagavad Gita, or whatever it is. Really, we become the interpreter of the words of God. And some of us are not very good interpreters. very, very poor interpreters. So, Hafiz, in these 2 poems that we're going to be singing for you, talks about this concept that in Persian mystical poetry is very common, and that is you cannot tell the difference when we hear about the lover and the beloved. You don't know if the person, the poet is talking about a physical beloved and physical lover, or a spiritual mystical. And this was because the country went through periods where you could not really outwardly talk about a lover and a beloved in a tangible, physical way, so this just travels back and forth. So this concept of love, in the Baha'i writings, you see it the same way. the beloved, the relationship of man to God is one of love, is really an attraction of love. And for this love, you do everything. You're like a candle that you wish to acquire a flame, and that flame is all about burning you all the way to the end, because then you can give light. So the whole purpose of life is to be able to illumine the world around you and then die off, not just to preserve your wax. So this poetry basically is the language of this lover with the beloved, that how wonderful it is that you're coming to me to give me the news of the coming of the beloved, which is in every dispensation, in every coming of any religion. When Christ came, when Muhammad came, where Zoroaster came, it is the beloved. These are mirrors that come to humanity to bring us closer to the beloved. So it's really the universal happening. So at this time, the Baha'u'llah's coming also was coming to of the beloved. So once again, that love was renewed. So this conversation goes back and forth, and the lover wants to give everything, and usually the beloved does not make it very easy. There's a lot of torment and imprisonment and hardship that is imposed on you. But you know, if you're claiming to be a lover, you better live through all of that and shine. And that's the whole story. So that's the sign of a good lover, that the lover does never give up the attention to the beloved and become focused on the enemy. That's not the sign of a lover. So these two poems are basically like that. I will not read the translation of it, but if any of you wanted the translation, I have it in English. I can give you later. So, is that good enough? And Iraj plays guitar, and Arsalan generally, actually, his instrument is classical guitar, but he has humored us, and because we needed a percussion person, so he agreed to learn and accompany us with his.
Not learn, but accompany.
Yeah, and, he does a good job. So that's it. And the first part is very slow. It's a slow, mystical, meditative part. I would say very, not lamenting, but definitely not upbeat. And then the second part is very upbeat. It's like, now the lover and beloved, they really go to dance, kind of a thing. It's like a dancing time.
So good, good.